What's up, nerds of wrestling, and welcome to today's episode of What's Up Wrestler, a podcast by Nerds of Wrestling. It is I, your host, Justin Del Rio, and my guest at this very time is Gypsy Mac. Gypsy, what is going on? How you doing today?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. This is very, very long overdue. I knew I asked you like last year,
I know.
and we were trying to find a date, and we were finally able to make the show happen. So thank you again for being able to do this.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a while since we've been trying to get this going.
Yeah, and like I said, we finally got it going, and I'm glad you're able to do this. How are you doing during this crazy time that we're living in?
I've been pretty good. It's been a crazy year for me. I had my knee injury, I had surgery, so now I'm coming up on the end of everything. So I see the light at the end of the tunnel finally.
And that knee injury really kind of took a damper in your career for quite some time. How were you able to kind of keep such a positive mindset throughout that time?
I just tried to reach out on social media and be as active as I could. I knew fans were still interested in what I was doing and how my recovery was going. So luckily that helped me kind of, not be so down and out about it, is having that support behind me.
But that support was definitely must have felt really good to have, like a lot of weight lifted off your shoulders.
Yeah, most definitely. Because, like when you're out from an injury, like all you can do is just think and you're just like, oh, what if, I don't come back, or, what if this, what if that. But luckily, all my fans really supported me and my family too.
That's awesome, and I knew you sold a shit ton of merch. Like, oh, you're selling eight. I remember like every day you were on Facebook. Oh, I'm almost out of 8x10s. Oh, I'm almost out of stickers. Getting them while they last. I'm like, damn, like you're doing good. Like, good for you. Like, you don't got to worry about that at all. Before we get to know more about Gypsy Mac, drop those plugs really quick. Where can those nerds find you?
So on Instagram, I'm the.gypsy.mac. MAC is how you spell my last name. And then I'm on Twitter at just Gypsy Mac.
There you go. We will definitely get those plugs again at the end. How did Gypsy Mac really become Gypsy Mac?
So
Hmm.
I've loved wrestling ever since I was a little kid. I grew up watching it with my parents. They took me to go see like Nitro all the time when I was
Nice.
younger. Yeah, it was super fun. My brothers were into it, and I'm the baby. So they're always like, oh, let's get you like in a pedigree, or let's try and choke slam you. So I just always loved it, and I reached out to the person that currently trained me, who is Gino. Told you so. You've had him on the show, so you know who
He's
he is.
so good. He's great. Shout out to Gino. I love Gino to death. That man is awesome.
Yeah, he's such a great person. And, I reached out to him and I was like, hey, I really want to do this. What can I do? And he pointed me in the direction of a couple of schools. But being a female, a lot of schools didn't want to coach me and didn't want to help me out. So luckily, Gino is an amazing guy. And he was like, you know what? No, he's like, that's not right. So he opened a school and helped me out. So I owe everything to him.
That must have been really cool just to, have Gino do that for you when other people were like, nah. Those other schools you trained at, do they currently contact you, try to book you, or
They're not even around.
oh wow, really?
Yeah,
Look at
like,
that.
it's kind of funny because a lot of those schools dismantled over time and they're not running anymore. And as far as I know, I think there's maybe one other school that runs out of my current area, but as far as I know, they don't really do shows a lot or anything. I haven't heard any traction from them.
Well, sucks for them, huh? It sucks
Yeah,
for them.
it does.
You said you went to Nitro as a kid. What was that like? I never been to a Nitro show. I know they're no longer around, obviously, but I've only been to WWE, Raw, SmackDown. I'm kind of jealous of those people who go to Nitro shows. What was that like for your first time?
The first time that I can remember, I was maybe like 5, so I was still a
Wow.
baby. But from what I remember, it was just so much fun being there with my family, seeing like all the stars come out that you see on TV. It was just such like a moment in my life that made me be like, I want to do this. Like, I want to be on that stage. I wanted to be a Nitro girl, if that is like possible.
No, oh man, even if you weren't a wrestling fan, it's so cool to go to a wrestling show just to see everything in person. My brother is not a wrestling fan, and he says, he would go to Raw if someone gave him like a ticket to go. Like he says, it's so cool just to go there in person. Uh, Growing up, who were some wrestlers you really looked up to?
Growing up, I really loved Sting. He was like a big influence from WCW. I loved Jeff Hardy, the Hardy Boys. I would always try and jump off of stuff.
Of course, everybody does.
Yeah. Chris Benoit was another one of my favorites growing up. He's just so good in that ring. That man could do everything.
He's nuts. Chris Benoit was a a crazy motherfucker in that ring. There's so much wrestling going on nowadays. Have you been keeping up with the current product?
I've been trying, I do like to keep up with promotions that I'm like, I want to work for them.
Right.
So I try and keep up with those promotions. But as far as like current stuff like AEW and WWE, I don't keep up with current storylines, but I do try and watch as much as I can.
Did you watch WrestleMania at all?
I did. I watched both nights.
What were your thoughts? A lot of people were saying night one was better than night two. I agree. What were your thoughts?
I agree too. That match, the first match, that threw me for a loop. I wasn't expecting that to happen at all.
Which one on night two with Orton?
No, night one, I thought McIntyre was gonna win.
Nah, I knew, I
I
knew.
thought so. I was like, they're gonna give him the crowd, like they have
No,
to. And I was like, damn.
see, that's why they didn't. I'm like, everyone is saying that, like, yo, they're gonna give McIntyre the crown. I'm like, why give Lashley the title then? Like that makes no sense. I'm like, nah, let Lashley retain, and then the McIntyre can take it back at SummerSlam. Like, let Lashley have this moment. Like McIntyre does not need it at all, and I feel like a lot of people do agree with that.
Yeah, like I don't keep up with current storylines, so I have no idea. Like I didn't even know Bobby Lashley was the champion there for a while. I still thought McIntyre had it, and I was
Oh
like,
God.
oh, yeah.
No, no, no. He lost it to the Miz after he cashed in. I forgot what pay-per-view, but yeah, he lost it to the Miz. But like I said, the McIntyre, this is not the end for McIntyre. It's okay. McIntyre will get that title back. He doesn't need it. Give someone else a turn to have it. Who really exceeded my expectations, and I said it on tons of podcasts, and I'll say it again. Bad Bunny. Holy shit. I
Yes.
Bro, what?
I was so shocked. Like he had a better match than some people on the indies. Like
Yo, like legitimately, like yo, I'm a huge mark for the Canadian Destroyer. Homeboy hit a Canadian. Like he never wrestled. Homeboy hit a Canadian Destroyer. Gypsy, I popped so hard for that spot. I was going nuts. I was like going like bonkers. I was like, what? What? He did not just hit a fucking Canadian. Is this real? Like, what is going on?
yeah, I freaked out. I'm a huge Bad Bunny fan, so everyone was like kind of pissed about it. On the inside, I was kind of happy because I was like, I love Bad Bunny. Like, I want to see what he's gonna
Oh
do in the
God.
ring, and he like killed it. I was so proud.
Yeah, personally, I'm not a fan of his. I mean, I'm not really a fan of his now, and I definitely was not a fan of his before. And he did not have my respect. He stepped into that ring. He really exceeded my expectations. He has my respect now. Cause if you hit a Canadian in your debut match, you got my respect automatically. Cause holy shit, like I said, I'm a huge mark for that. For that move. Uh, let's talk about night two just a little bit before we talk about you. What are your thoughts on night two?
So night two, I thought it was okay. Like there wasn't anything that I was like, wow, this is great. I am like amazing. There wasn't anything that I was like super pumped for, but it wasn't bad. I did kind of like the whole thing, Randy Orton thing. I'm
Right.
excited to see what they're gonna do with Alexa Bliss now.
A lot of people were very upset about that just because it looked like the feed got not, I don't want to say jobbed out to Orton, but like there was no match. Nothing really happened. Alexa Bliss came out like with that fucking ghoul dropping on her face. A lot of people think it's Sister Abigail. I think it's Sister Abigail. I was like, I'm like, they had to bring in Sister Abigail now. We can only hope. We can only hope. But anyway, um, let's talk a little more about Gypsy Mac. Talk about your training. What was that like when you first stepped into the ring for the first time?
I was terrified. I was so scared. I was like, this is gonna probably hurt. Like I'm gonna probably hate it, but I can't like quit. And it wasn't like it was bad, but it wasn't that bad. Like once I was in there and I was rolling around and taking those bumps, like I knew that's the only place I wanted to be.
What was the first bump that, if you remember, because I always ask these wrestlers this question. What was the first bump that you actually took? Was it a back bump or, more like running the ropes and then the back bump?
So I think we ran the ropes first, and that hurt. I wasn't expecting that to be
The ropes,
bad.
yeah,
Yeah, I
right.
thought it was just like a little like wee, but no,
Little
those
little bunch
hurt.
of little like rubber band, right? Just like a little soft rubber band that just bounces you right back. No, those
Yeah.
hurt.
I thought it was gonna be fun, but no, that was more painful than I thought. And out of the 2, I took a back bump first, just a standing back bump. I didn't breathe out, so I kinda knocked my air out a little
Oh,
bit. Yeah, so
knock
that kinda
knock the wind
sucked.
right out of you. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
But after that back bump, were you like, okay, yeah, this is where I belong. This is what I want to do.
Yeah, like, you grow a love for the pain that you feel in that ring, like, even though it hurts, nothing feels better than being in there.
What was it like to, keep going back to training? Were there times where you felt kind of discouraged, like kind of were like, I don't know if I want to do this, or did you always have a positive mindset?
I'm not a very positive person, so I did have those moments where I was like, "Man, I should just quit, like, I don't wanna do this anymore." Especially coming back from my knee injury, there's been times where I'm like, "Do I wanna do this?" Like, I've gone through so much having knee surgery. I tore my ACL, my meniscus, like,
Oof.
I had a really bad knee injury, but there's just something that burns inside me that just tells me, "No, like, I can't quit. I have to go back."
Especially after that knee injury you had. If you don't mind talking about it, what happened with that knee injury?
So, I went to a rave.
Oh,
And it was like a dubstep rave, so there
right.
was like it's more metal, so people like mosh. And I'm a huge like hardcore heavy metal chick, so I was like, "Yeah, let's go and mosh. Like this sounds fun."
I
So
could tell by your appearance. Yeah, you're like a
thank you.
heavy like hardcore, but no problem.
I'm a rocker.
Rockers. Hey, all
Yeah.
good.
But yeah, I went in there and I had a little bit too much to drink that night, and when I went to go push someone, someone pushed me the other way and my knee just snapped.
Oh God.
Yeah, so that was fun. I ended up being in the bar the rest of the night and just chilling, and then 2 weeks later, I was like, "Yeah, I feel fine. Let's try and, like, go in there and do some drill wrestling training," and I gave one of my training partners an arm drag, and I just heard a pop, and I fell, and that was I tore everything.
Fuck. Oh my
Yeah.
God. I'm so sorry. Oh my God. That sounds awful.
It sucked. It really, really did. Like, at first, I didn't think it was that bad after the
Right.
concert, but no, after that arm drag, it definitely was bad.
You like made it worse right after that.
Oh, yeah.
But you didn't feel anything like before training, or did you feel a little something?
Like, it was kinda hurting, but I'm very stubborn.
Yeah,
So I was like, "No,
we all
you're" I
are.
was
We all
like,
could be.
"Yeah."
Yeah.
I was like, "Push through it. It's not that bad." Like, if it was that bad, the doctor would have told you not to be on your feet.
Right.
So I should have waited.
Oh well, like now you'll know not to go to mosh pits anymore. You gotta be more careful. Maybe not to have too
Yeah.
much to drink. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Do you? Do you? Have you always been like a heavy hardcore metal fan? Who are some of your? I don't know anything about heavy metal or like hardcore metal. I'm just gonna ask who are your favorite artists and bands, even though I have no idea who you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I've been listening to this kind of music my entire life. My dad was a huge 80 metal like person, so I grew up listening to Metallica, Iron Maiden, stuff like that. But then when I was around like 8, I got like my own music taste and I started listening to more like emo music and yeah, I was listening to My Chemical Romance and stuff like that since I was like 8 or 9. I grew up listening to them, which is really crazy.
Yeah, I never like I work with kids for a living, and like I would never hear a kid like say it. So I listen to My Chemical Romance. What?
You're like, "What is wrong with that child?"
I don't even know who they like. First of all, how do you know who they are? And what?
Yeah,
Uh,
like, it's so crazy.
hmm. Are you like a like do you like listening to like people screaming and like all that stuff like that kind of music too?
Yeah, I
Oh
actually wanted to be in a metal band when I growing up. I wanted to be a screamer, so I practiced vocals for a while, but realized I wasn't that good. So that
yeah.
dream died.
Well, yeah. People are like, yeah, don't quit your day job. Like, yeah, don't do
Yeah,
that.
they're like, "Don't" they're like, "Just stick to guitar, though."
Six seconds. I, I
Yeah.
I always I always find it fascinating how people could just have like such a bad day at like work or at school, and then they're like, I want to go home and listen to music, and then they just listen to like people screaming at them. That would make me even more upset. Like, what? I don't understand.
It takes the aggression out for me.
To each their own. To each
Yeah.
their own, I guess. Oh man, that's what people say. To each their own. I'm not a big metal fan. I like alternative. I still listen to like
Okay.
some 41 and like Blink 182, like 2002. Yep, I know.
Yep.
Hey, I know. Yep. I just listened to Blink 182 earlier, but let's talk a little more about your wrestling. We talk about music all the time. After training, what was your first match like? How long did it take you to get booked into your very first match?
So my very, very first time in a match was a battle royal, and that was maybe 9 months into, no, I would say 8 months or seven into training. That was fun. It was scary because they're like, "Hey, you're in the battle royal tonight," and I was like, "Okay." Because I don't know if you've seen, I travel with Gino. I sometimes
Yep.
work with him as his valet. But that night, they're like, "You know what? You're ready to be in the ring," and I was like, "Okay, let's do this." And it was fun. I was in there with a lot of cool guys. They took care of me. They like made sure like nothing was gonna happen. So it was fun. I had a lot of fun in that battle royal.
I always hear stories because 9 months. I think 9 months to a year is perfect timing. It takes a long time to train to be a wrestler. It's not going to take you 2 months to train to be a wrestler. It takes a long time, and a lot of people don't realize that it doesn't take 2 months, bro. Like you have to train of like 6 months to a year. Uh, what was your mindset? Like, I know you said you were excited, but like, were you nervous? Were you like terrified? Like, what was going through your mind when they told you, "Hey, you're in the battle royal, gear up"?
Oh, I was terrified. I went up to like some of my training partners and I was like, they want me to do this and they have already had their match. And they're like, don't worry, you're going to be fine. And I was like, no, I'm so nervous. Like, I remember even being backstage before I was supposed to come out to curtain. And I was like looking at Gino and I was like, I can't do this. Like, I'm going to throw up. And he's like, you'll be fine. And then just like pushed me out the door. And I had to go.
Oh man, how many people were there? Do you remember like the crowd? What was the atmosphere like?
It was a pretty big crowd. It was when I worked for Cactus League Wrestling, and they always
Cactus.
got a
Yep.
pretty big draw. Yeah, we had like some pretty big names on that card main eventing, so we had a sold out crowd.
Is
I think there was
Cactus?
probably, sorry,
Oh,
what were you
sorry.
gonna say?
No, what were you saying?
I was just gonna say like I think there was a couple of hundred people there that night.
Is Cactus still around?
As far as I know, they switched owners and they're gonna start something in the summer, but I haven't heard anything in a while.
They're located in Arizona, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and Tucson and Phoenix is where they mostly have their shows.
You wrestle a lot up in Phoenix and like in that area, correct?
Yeah, Arizona is mostly where I go, but I have been to Colorado, Texas. I'm trying to make my journey out to like Nevada and different places. I want to go places I've never wrestled before.
There's actually a question we had from a fellow nerd. They want to know, when are you going to make your debut in Las Vegas?
I don't know. I'm hoping by the summer. I was supposed to move out there and I wanted to go to school out there, but the pandemic happened. My knee surgery happened. So now I'm just trying to get back in the ring to get my footing again. But I'm hoping to start branching out by the summer, hopefully by like July.
Hey, I'm a strong believer for everything happens for a reason. Like maybe last year was not the right timing. This year could be it. This year could be your extremely big break. There's so much wrestling in the entire world, uh, all over the place. England, Germany, Australia. Especially the United States. Independent wrestling is really taking over the world. I feel like it started taking over in 2017, 2016. Would you agree?
Yeah, I got back into so I've been watching my whole entire life, but I stopped watching in middle school. I became like a emo kid and I was like, "Oh no, I don't like wrestling," but like I would secretly watch it with my grandma from time to time. But I got back into it, I would say in 2016, and Indies was really what brought me back because I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah, neither did I. I mean, I discovered it in 2012, but I didn't realize like that I discovered it in 2012, and then I really got like hardcore into it in like 2016.
Yeah, one of my friends was like, "Oh, like, do you watch wrestling?" And I was like, "Yeah, I." used to watch it back in the day. He showed me Bullet Club in ROH, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" And I just got hooked right back into it.
And you're like, oh my god, there's more wrestlers than just WWE. What is this?
Yeah,
Like, and then you just go on like a big hiatus of like not hiatus, but like a big search spree of like ROH. And then it brings you to all these wrestlers and all those wrestlers, and you're like, what is New Japan? What is Impact?
yeah.
What is all this? Like,
And see, I
what is
knew
happening?
Impact because I'm a
Right,
huge Jeff Hardy fan, so I
of course.
followed him when he went to Impact. But what freaked me out about the Indies was female wrestling. Because
Yeah,
growing up, it was just like, oh, bra and panty matches, and
right.
like they weren't so great. It was like, the popcorn break that people took. And seeing these women on the Indies, I was like, oh my God, these girls can go. Like they're actually wrestling.
Yeah, it's crazy how you said you went on like a kind of like a hiatus, but like kind of stood watching wrestling in middle school. I feel like middle school is when a lot of people discovered wrestling, and you kind of stopped watching wrestling. I stopped watching wrestling in high school, then I picked it back up in high school. When did you like actually just were like, you know what, fuck it, I'm a wrestling fan. Wrestling is in my blood. I'm gonna watch wrestling.
I would say when my friend got me back into it, like 2015, 2016, that's when I was like, you know what? Like, I don't care what anyone thinks of me. I
Right.
love this. Like, it's in my family. My great uncle used to take my dad and my uncle to wrestling events, and they passed that on to me. And that's something I want to pass on to my niece and my nephew is taking them to
Yeah.
shows.
I get so jealous when, I hear these. I interviewed a lot of wrestlers, as you know, and half of them are like, oh, I grew up watching wrestling with my family. My dad loved it, my mom loved it, my whole family loved it. I'm like, man, you're lucky. I just discovered it out of nowhere. I'm the only one in my whole family who loves wrestling. Everybody else absolutely hates it. They despise it. They think my podcast is cool that I talk to wrestlers, but like, they go like, yeah, whatever. Hey, Justin likes wrestling. What? It's fake, Justin. Whatever. I'm like, know what? Hush. Shh.
Whatever.
Don't use that word, okay? Don't say that word. It's
Yeah.
a
No,
bad
that's a
word.
bad word.
It's a bad. You can't say that. I remember I was interviewing somebody and Jesse Nolan, and I was like, what are your thoughts when the people use the F word to you about wrestling? They're like, so I don't understand. I'm like, fake. What are your reaction when people say wrestling's fake? She goes, oh, I thought you meant the different F word. I'm like, no, 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 fake, not that word.
Yeah.
Well, what are
It's
your thoughts though when people
Well,
say
it's
that word?
funny that you bring that up because my auntie was dating this guy and she was like, oh, my niece does wrestling and stuff. And he's like, oh, like the fake shit. And I was like, and my knee was injured at the time. And I was just like, oh, you want to talk about fake? And then like I went off on him about like how like physical it is and how it's not fake. And yeah, like, it might be predetermined, but
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
all it is. There's nothing fake about it. That ring
Thank
hurts,
you.
those ropes hurt. I got DDT'd like my second week of practice and got like a small concussion.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like
Shit.
it's not fake.
No, a lot of people are like, oh, it's just a trampoline. Like canvas. Like, first of all, no, the fuck it's not. Like, I mean, Gypsy. I'm not a wrestler. I will never be able to do what you guys do in that ring. Like, I give you guys so much praise because holy shit, you guys are fucking like human gods when it comes to wrestling. But like, it sucks when non-wrestling fans are like, oh, it's fake. But like, I just like shrug them off and everything. You just got to keep doing what you're doing. Going back to the independence really quick. Like I said, there's so much wrestling and so much independent wrestling everywhere. Where do you see yourself in the next five, maybe 3 to 5 years? Where do you want to go?
My dream is to go all across the world. I want to try and wrestle for AAA in Mexico. I want to go out to Japan and wrestle for those female companies out there are amazing. I
Yeah.
want to get booked on one of those so bad. And one of my friends actually just moved to the Netherlands. So I'm hoping to go visit him and go and wrestle out in England and learn a different style out there too.
I said before I interviewed this girl from England, I said England has the best wrestling fans in the world. I don't know if you agree, but holy shit, those fans are so unique when it comes to wrestling. Like they're just so happy to be there. Uh, like I said, there's so much wrestling. You gotta come to Connecticut. I always tell people, yo, you gotta come to Connecticut, man. Come to the Northeast. We got some bangers up here.
Yeah, you're going to have to try and get me on some promotions out there. Tell them.
Um, I got you.
Yeah.
It's a power of social media. It's a power of social media.
Exactly. It's like I posted today on my status, like when you get into this industry, people don't tell you all the things that you have to do. And like being a social media like influencer, marketer, that's like one of the biggest things.
It is, and I could tell, and I'll tell people right now who are listening, like especially for wrestlers, it's huge. But for me, it's a lot of work too, just in my podcast, because you see me promoting the hell out of this like podcast, the interviews all the time. It's a lot of work. It is a lot of work. Sometimes you won't get noticed, but the more work you put in, the more people are going to recognize you. And it's the same goes with everybody. Wrestlers, singers, whatever it is.
No, I agree. And you're a hustler. I'm like, I don't know who posts more, you or Gino. Like, you guys are always on my timeline.
Oh Jesus! Well. Next time you gotta count like count Geno's and count mine, and then just like let me know like, hey Justin, you had 15, Gino had 12. You won this week.
You
We'll
won
do it
the.
again next. We'll do it again next week.
That's so
that
funny.
that is awesome. Gypsy, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm always looking for new podcasts and shows to hop on.
Of course, I definitely got to have you on it again in the near future. Like I said, I've been trying to get you on for like over a year, and it is absolutely crazy that we were able to make this happen finally. And I'm so glad today was awesome. You were great. Like you're
Oh, thank
awesome.
you.
I got to have you on again for sure. One last time, drop those plugs. Where can those nerds find you?
So on Twitter, I'm at Gypsy Mac. MAC is how you spell my last name, and Instagram is the period Gypsy period Mac.
There you go, nerds. Go follow Gypsy Mac on those social media platforms. This has been an episode of What's Up Wrestler, a podcast by Nerds of Wrestling. I am your host, Justin Del Rio. Peace out, nerds.